This PD World. I'm Syed Shabahat Ali. You're watching Faultlines. The world is still trying to recover from the damages caused by COVID-19, a virus that has shattered economies around the world and has also challenged our health infrastructure. And now another virus is knocking at our doors. It is called monkeypox. Transmitted to human beings from monkeys, this virus is known to medical science since 1958. It is originally found from Congo, but now it is found spreading to various parts of Europe. Scientists believe another round of vaccination will soon kick in to save us from the spread of this disease. But we want to know a lot more about this disease. We would want to understand if this causes as serious challenges as COVID-19 caused us. Is it going to be another round of economic turmoil? Is it going to shatter the economies and health infrastructure of developing countries? To talk about this, I am joined by a panel of experts, and my first guest in today's program is Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar, CEO of Global Health Strategies and Implementers. Dr. Rana, I welcome you to the program. Dr. Rana, I welcome you to the program. I think we have not been able to establish contact with Dr. Rana, so I'm going to request my second guest in the program, and she's Dr. Maria Yusuf, medical specialist, joining me on Skype from Rawalpindi. Dr. Maria, welcome to the program.
Hello there, this is Dr. Maria Yusuf. I hope you're doing well there.
Fantastic, we are doing well. Dr. Maria, let's talk about this monkeypox. This has come to us as another challenge for the global health infrastructure. And it's, creating a lot of buzz in the global media. We want to know more about it. So how serious of a virus is monkeypox?
Okay, now, first of all, you need to understand that, monkeypox is somewhat related to the same type of genetic strain as smallpox. Now, we all know that smallpox was very fatal. And till we got vaccination, and then it was eradicated, right? So this is it seems that because it could be just a mutation which occurs sometimes because of decline in the immunity. This is what it seems. And the symptoms what they show is that it is a type of flu. It is a type of flu which does have it starts up with a fever and can lead to and then leads to a certain type of rash, or you can say you have papules, vesicles, and then pustules, and then scab is formed. How serious it is that, if we look towards the mortality rate, okay, it shows that it could be somewhere from there are two types of strains. Now, Congo strain shows a 10% rate of mortality, and the West African strain shows 1% of mortality there, right? On a general note, they say that the fatality rate can vary from 10 to 17%. That's what research is showing right now. But always remember that any type of contact virus, that can, it is a type of contact virus again that is always transmitted mostly via touch, droplet infection, meaning your via your secretions. If you're sneezing, if you're within the same room, you're touching somebody, or where if you're wearing certain type of clothes, and since there are scabs, or there is pus, if that touches another person, he or she will be contaminated. So
Dr. Maria, I'll hold you here, and we are now joined by Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar, who is joining us over the phone, CEO of Global Health Strategies and Implementers. Dr. Rana, welcome to the program.
My pleasure, sir.
And so we are talking about this issue of monkeypox. Now, as Dr. Maria was explaining a while ago, and she's still on the call, that this does not have a very high rate of mortality, but still this is being widely talked about in global media, particularly the Western media outlets are talking a lot about monkeypox, claiming it to be another threat for our survival or for mankind or maybe for the shattered health infrastructure of developing countries. How serious of a threat do you believe this virus carries for us?
Okay,
So,
the thing is,
as
see,
an infectious disease person, whenever we see a virus or any bacteria or any disease changing its routine pattern and either infecting newer group of people or finding a new way of transmitting the disease, it's always a threat. It is always considered a threat. So what has happened with monkeypox, which has alarmed experts all over the world? And these are a couple of things. One, the disease is not new. Since 1970, we have identified it in humans, but it has kept itself in a certain African countries, and it was considered a disease of Africa for a very long time. Only in recent years we started seeing its cases outside continent Africa, and the last big outbreak which happened in U.S. Was in 2003 when many monkeypox cases were identified in U.S. and other European countries. So what has changed now, or how things have changed now? That instead of limiting to few countries, are finding travel links of patients to African countries. Now we have identified thousands of new cases of monkeypox, and they are spread in 70 countries, around 70 countries. And and this is just a tip of the iceberg because most countries do not have the required tests available. So when we don't test, we don't know the exact scale of the problem. So it has come out of Africa, and now you don't need to find travel links to Africa in patients to be those who are sick of monkeypox. And the other thing which has changed recently, that in the community transmission, that means from one person to another person, its limit was up to 6%. Like, from one person, six people could be one by one get infected. But now that has also increased to 9%. So that shows its transmissibility pattern has changed. It has evolved into more infectious probably, and we don't know still. It's still believed though that it's through the droplet infection. But we thought about it about COVID-19 in the beginning also, that it's only be transmitted through the droplet, and later we realized that it's airborne. And until that time, a huge loss of life and
Point taken,
materials have
Dr.
been done.
Rana. Allow me to take Dr. Maria back into the conversation. Dr. Maria, as you heard, Dr. Rana is of the view that the spread of this virus is quite fast. And we are seeing most of the cases emerging from Europe. Now, why do you believe Europe would have the maximum number of cases? Do you believe the only reason for it is that they have more testing facilities, or they have somehow it is being more reported than many other countries that have not been able to identify the virus so far?
okay, now they say that, see, what the statistics that I've come across say is that on May 6th in UK, 1,735 cases of monkeypox were reported, and 1,660 or 1,660 were in England alone. Now, this is a sudden, uh, there seems to be a sudden explosion. There's sudden explosion of cases.
Dr.
This,
Maria, I can't hear you clearly. I can't hear you clearly. So you might have to remove the hand freeze that you're wearing.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better now.
Okay, now what I was trying to tell you was that the statistics that I've come across say that on May 6th in UK, 1,735 cases of monkeypox were reported, and 1,660 of them were in England alone. Okay, now this shows a sudden explosion in cases, which stands in sharp contrast to the previous years, where only about 7 cases were previous 4 years. In the previous 4 years, 7 cases were recorded. Now, again, okay, what it seems to be is that normally, you see, if you look towards the origin, it says that it comes from a strain of monkeys, right? It was first found initially in 1958 in a strain of monkeys, and then it's also found in rodents, and then via and then it's transmitted to humans. So it could be because of travel. It could be because of animals being transported from one place to the other and which are infected, and it also could be due to, they say, in England especially, they what I've seen, what I've read, or I've done research on, I've come across is that it could be also due to certain amount of liaisons between men especially. Okay, so that's how it goes, and that's what research says, that that is the reason that it's up very high in the statistics have gone up very high in England, and then its origin is again from Congo, and then we have, as you would see, a West African strain, have a Congo strain. Congo strain, as I mentioned earlier, is more fatal than the West African strain. In the UK, the cases are more related to the West African strain. That's how it goes. So this is what statistics currently are showing, that these could be the reasons. And obviously, what happens is that why an emergency, or why are people scared? Number one, smallpox by itself was very fatal. It led to scarring. Now, this again has a tendency towards scarring also. You know, and and people have the same fear. It could spread as fast as smallpox. Luckily enough, the vaccine for smallpox is covering for about 85%, giving a coverage of about 85% for monkeypox also, because they have a genetic similarity. Okay, that's what again the research is showing. So that is the
Your
good.
point is taken, Dr. Maria, and thank you very much for being part of our program today. Coming back to you, Dr. Rana Jawad. So, are we going to take once again a new round of vaccination for this new virus? Because this might be becoming a challenge for many other countries. And a part of my this question is also the fact that, as you said, there are little testing facilities with the developing countries. But isn't the fact of this virus quite evident and one can see it from eyes? So is there really a need to test it through the testing kits?
So I think we are in the early phase of this, let's say, epidemic. And the dangerous part is that until today, until this outbreak started, all the cases of monkeypox which were discovered or identified outside Africa all always had a travel link or other link to Africa. So this time, that's not the case. So most of those cases have no traveling to Africa or anything. So that means there is a community transmission already started happening. And as I mentioned, that within like 2 months or so, we have now 7,000 cases in around 70 countries, and that is the number even with the lack of facilities. So that's the evolving problem. I don't think so that at this moment everyone needs a vaccination, even though the vaccination is available, but it's in a very short supply because no one needed it before, unless you are living in Africa. So the vaccine, the good thing about it is that vaccine is already tested and available, and already the rich governments are now putting purchase orders of millions of doses. So I don't know when we could purchase that, but at this moment, I don't think like a common citizen need to be worried about that to get vaccinated. But I think the government should start planning about getting enough vaccines to at least vaccinate their healthcare staff in case this outbreak becomes an epidemic or eventually a pandemic.
But Dr. Rana, as you pointed out already, are we talking about an epidemic? Are we taking the risk of this disease becoming an epidemic at a time when the number of cases across the world are just in few thousands, but you are still afraid of the spread. And another thing that I would want to associate with this question is that, do we have a vaccine already because this virus is previously known to us, or have this vaccine been recently developed with the recent
Yeah.
spread of
No, the
monkeypox?
vaccine is not recently developed. The vaccine was yeah, the newest vaccine was developed in I think 2011, so nearly 10 years ago. And the reason it was developed, and previously we had the smallpox vaccines, which had the which were 80% effective against monkeypox too. So these two types of vaccines are still available. So the newer version, which is specifically for monkeypox, is was also established in 2010. And remember, the disease was present, but in African countries. And whenever and for many healthcare staff who are going overseas from the Western countries, these type of vaccines, if there is danger there, are required.
Point taken. Point taken,
yeah.
Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar. Thank you so very much for being guest in our program today. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Dr. Rana Jawad Asghar, and what he pointed out is that though the number of cases are still in few thousands in the world, this virus has learned to know how to exist out of Africa, and it has spread in many countries of Europe. He believes a primary reason for it that the European countries have the right testing technology, and as there are more testings in Europe, this is why more cases are reported. So far, no cases, he believes, have been reported in Pakistan, and he does not think there is a need for Pakistan to be specifically worried about this virus at this very moment, but he suggested that there should be vaccines available for the health experts. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know that the program Faultline primarily covers the international conflicts. And we are going to cover a very important international conflict as the second topic of the program. And this is about Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo is a country that is filled with natural resources. Nature has bestowed Congo with a lot of natural resources. Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, the neighboring country, have started exchanging firepower, exchanging rockets against each other. And the reason of this turmoil is a militia, a militant organization that is causing life losses to the army of Congo. And this is called M23 Group. M23 is a combination of 120 militia organizations, which many believe are sponsored by neighboring countries, specifically Rwanda, and destroying the peace of Congo. Congo's army has taken a lot of losses against M23 movement, and now this is causing a problem between for the diplomatic relationship between the two countries. To talk about this, I am joined from United States by Mr. Claude Gatebuke. He is a human rights activist. But before I bring my guest to the program, let's watch a package prepared by Team Faultlines.
Africa stands at the brink of transitional conflict as the escalating heavy fighting in eastern Congo has received decades-old animosities between the governments of DRC and neighboring Rwanda, with the former blaming the latter of the resurgence of a fighter group called M23. Threatening to spark a war in Africa's Great Lakes region, ongoing M23 and armed group activities in eastern DRC threaten to reverse hard-won progress in security and stability in Democratic Republic of Congo in the region. The Congolese army has been locked in heavy fighting since late May, with the M23 one of the most notorious rebel groups, which is waging its most sustained offensive since the 2012 and 13 attack that seized vast swaths of territory. The United Nations envoy in the Democratic Republic of Congo has warned that fighting in the east of the country could spiral out of control amid reports of grave human rights abuses in the region's restive provinces. The origins of the current violence in the DRC are in the massive refugee crisis and spillover from the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Several East African countries agreed earlier this month to form a regional force to deploy in eastern DRC to help end violence in the volatile region.
Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about this conflict, before I take my guest into the program, there is a bit of background of this issue that I would want to give to you. The background of this issue is that the sub-Saharan Africa is a piece of land that has many problems associated with the hunger, the poverty, and the corruption that are major challenges. Uh, the geographical boundaries of these countries were so irrationally driven that there are many conflicts in this part of the world, and Congo's case is no different. To talk about this is Mr. Claude Gatebuke, who's joining me on Skype, a human rights activist and an African affairs expert joining me from the United States. Claude Gatebuke, I welcome you to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we are talking about this problem that Congo is facing at the moment. So before we talk about the problem, can you kindly give us a summarized quick background of what Congo is and what exact resources or what exact geography does it have?
Congo is a very important country in the world for many reasons. Number one, its resources. The Congo is the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. It has 24 trillion, and I repeat, trillion dollars worth of resources, US dollars worth of resources in under its soil. It's rich in all kinds of minerals, the minerals that we use in our technology devices, powering the cell phones and everything, electric cars, you name it, uranium. It's got coltan, it's got cobalt, it's got gold, uh, diamonds. I mean, everything has it. Timber. It also has one of the largest, biggest, most important ecological system on its soil, which is the rainforest, the tropical rainforest, the second largest in the world. So it's a very important country in the world. It also has a large population, almost 100 million people live in the Congo. And it's right now the conflict that you're talking about is it's the center of it is are those resources. The resource plundering in the Congo is driving the conflict in the Congo. But the importance of the Congo is in the center of Africa, in the heart of Africa, and it reaches the ocean and it's touched by 9 countries. So it's a very very important country in the region, in
Claude, I
its
have to
region. It
interject
can,
here. So you said this plundering of resources is a major reason why Congo is facing this crisis today. Now, who exactly do you believe is trying to plunder these resources? Because in most of the countries of Africa, the major problem rests with the regimes that are ruling these countries in a non-democratic manner for quite long. So who exactly we are blaming or we believe can be blamed for this conflict at the moment?
Yeah, so this isn't simply bad governance alone in the Congo. It's both. There's Congo has a governance issue, no doubt, but the plundering of the Congo is also not belief. It's there is evidence showing that the Congo is plundered by number one, its neighbors, Rwanda and Uganda, have invaded the Congo since 1996. It's going to be 26 years this year in October since the very first invasion of the Congo. The two countries are exporting resources not found in their soil, not found in Rwanda in large amounts, not found in Uganda in large amounts. And since the year 1997, when you look at reports that show the resource export from Uganda and Rwanda, and the
Okay,
jump
so
compared to
so so
previous
are
years.
we? I
Those are
got
the
your
fun.
point. Let's keep it quick. Let's keep it quick. So Uganda and Rwanda are being blamed for the stealing of resources, and are these the two powers that are supporting the M23 movement? Because there is exchange of firepower between Rwanda and Congo for the reason of M23.
Yes, yes. The two countries are definitely the supporters of the M23. The other plunderers, I do want to make this point, are multinational countries from Western countries. Canada, the US, Belgium, many European Union countries. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that. But now, coming to the support of the M23, The Rwanda is the main supporter of the M23. In fact, the M23 is back 10 years after it was actually stopped. When it first initiated, when it first started, the M23, it was supported, and the reports show and evidence shows by generals from Rwanda. General James Kabarebe, General Charles Kayonga, and General Jack Nziza, who are assistants to Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. So the very highest level of the military and governance in Rwanda is supporting the M23. There's also recruitment. Uganda is the same way. Uganda has, when the M23 was defeated in 2013, they fled to both Rwanda and Uganda. And today, those two factions have actually reinvaded the Congo. The supply of weapons, the type of equipment, actually, soldiers from Rwanda have been captured in the Congo fighting with the M23. So there's all kinds of evidence showing that those two countries are the ones that are actually supporting the M23, and that the M23 is not necessarily a homegrown rebellion, but in fact an invasion by Congo's neighbors.
So, Claude, as you have pointed out that the soldiers of these countries have been caught while fighting for M23, how has been the response of international community? And to add into it, there is a very active African Union, and United Nations is also doing peacekeeping in many parts of Africa, though it's heavily criticized for it. So, what is the role of African Union and United Nations in this conflict?
The international community's response to the Congo has been a complete failure, in my opinion. We Let's start with the UN. The UN has 20,000 troops, MONUSCO, that is what they're known as. They are supposed to be protecting civilians. Yet, over the last 26 years, more than 5 million Congolese people have died as a result of the invasions. And there has been invasion after invasion, and the UN has pretty much stood by and done nothing. The African Union, today, they're pushing for talks, and also the regional East African region is pushing to bring troops into the Congo. All of that is not what is needed. The UN has a report. It's called the UN Mapping Exercise Report for Congo that shows what crimes, major crimes that were committed between 1993 and 2003. That should set a base for actually pursuing justice. If justice is pursued, the reason why Congo is still in a mess is because of impunity. People commit crimes and get away with crimes. If they implement, set up the courts, international courts, the UN and the African Union and the regional bodies can actually set up such courts, international courts, to try these crimes that include genocide, that include mass rapes, that include mass atrocities and war crimes. And if they try the perpetrators, the Congo would actually have lasting peace, and there would be no need for these talks. There would be no need for the peacekeepers because the perpetrators will be held accountable.
Claude, United Nations peacekeeping has been a subject to criticism in many parts of Africa. So, is there a similar feeling? I mean, apart from your analysis that you just shared with us, is there a resentment against the UN's peacekeeping in Congo at the moment?
The Congo has experienced multiple protests against the presence of UN troops because the UN troops have not protected civilians. There's also been reports showing the UN troops have abused Congolese people. So there is a distaste for the UN peacekeepers, especially because they are not protecting civilians. Had they protected the civilians, they would be completely welcomed in the Congo. There was a time in 2000, in late 2012, early 2013, where there was an international force brigade made up of South African, Malawian, and Tanzanian troops that actually confronted the M23 and helped defeat the M23. The defeat of the M23 didn't come just as a military success, it was because of diplomatic and economic sanctions against Rwanda that started with the US withholding a mere $200,000 in military training, but it led to a domino effect where multiple countries in the European Union withheld aid to Rwanda. And because Rwanda is such a dependent on foreign aid, they actually let go of the M23, and that's how the M23 actually fled to Uganda and to Rwanda because they had no more supplies. So there are many ways to deal with this. The UN troops are not necessarily supporting the people. The people have shown that, and there are mechanisms to actually end this conflict if the international community gets engaged in the right way.
Mr. Gatebuke, taking advantage of your presence in program, I would want to understand. We have read about this issue, and there is a name that comes very frequently when we read about this issue, and this is Colonel Sultani Makanga, the leader of M23. Who is
Yeah.
he, and what exactly he is renowned for? Because much of the talk and circles around this man.
Yes, and Sultan Makenga is, to me, a small fish in a big, in this big major conflict. However, he was born in Congo. He's a Congolese national. He is a Rwandophone, basically a Congolese person that speaks Kinyarwanda, the language that's spoken in Rwanda. He is of Tutsi ethnicity, which is the also the ethnicity that rules uh, Rwanda, the ethnic group that the president of Rwanda belongs to, Paul Kagame. In fact, even Uganda, the son of the president, who's also a top military leader, has said that they want to set up a Hima Tutsi empire in the region, which basically means an ethnic based uh, rule in the region. Now, Sultani Makenga fits in that group. Sultani Makenga committed a coup against the previous leader of the M23. However, really, the M23 is the latest version of, as I said, Rwanda's invasion of the Congo, because it's a new name. What they do is they change names and they change acronyms of these groups, but the players are the same. Sultani Makenga is fighting along with Rwandan troops invading the Congo. And previously, when he was defeated, when the previous M23 version was defeated, he went into Uganda as a refugee, and he stayed there. And all of a sudden, this year, here they are, another war started, and he goes right back to Rwanda and Uganda invading the Congo. uh, an important point: Rwanda and Uganda are allies of the US, the UK, and many European Union countries. So the backing of these countries, the backing of the M23, is not just in Rwanda and in Uganda. It goes all the way back to the US, to the UK, and to
There
many
are
European
international
Union
operators, you
countries.
believe, behind it. And my last question, and I would request you to be a bit brief on it since we are short of time, but there are certainly a large humanitarian crisis taking place because of this conflict. So help us to understand what exactly this humanitarian situation looks like in Congo at this moment.
At the very beginning, in the first few months, almost 1 million people were displaced in the Congo by the M23 invasion. This displacement, the mass displacement, is always a problem because it brings with it disease and and horrible sanitary conditions that end up killing people. Congo already has 1.7 million refugees inside of their own country and millions of other refugees outside of their country. So it's become a regional crisis because in many places now, many surrounding countries are Congolese refugees, and even further abroad are Congolese refugees. And food security is an issue, has become an issue in a country that could actually feed the whole African continent and more. So that is, in a nutshell, the humanitarian crisis. Children and women and vulnerable people are the ones that are being hurt the most right now with all the bombings and the displacement.
Thank you very much, Claude Gatebuke, for being guest in our program today.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Mr. Claude Gatebuke, and he was talking about this issue of Congo, which in a nutshell is an issue of interference of neighboring countries, them sponsoring a militant organization that has caused not only immense life losses, but have also caused millions of people to be displaced internally and externally. Doesn't it sound familiar? Yes, it does. We'll take a break and we'll join you back with the last segment of the program. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. President Biden is on his maiden visit to the Middle East. He has visited Israel in these days. Just tonight, he's on the visit of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where he has met the top leadership of Saudi Arabia. The relationship between Saudi Arabia and United States remained strained in the recent past. Since 2018 onward, the relationship between the two countries has not been as sweet as remained in the past. But now President Biden is in an effort to reset and redefine this relationship, primarily because of the following reasons. Reason number one, there is a dire need to increase the energy supply to the global economy that is crumbling below the pressure of rising petroleum prices. Reason number two, there is a need to reset the diplomatic relationship between Israel and other GCC countries, for which Saudi Arabia will play a pivotal role or can play a pivotal role. And reason number three, United States is extremely concerned about the nuclear program of Iran, which Biden administration has not been able to stop despite all efforts made by government of Iran. United States walked unilaterally out of the contract, and when Iran got closer to the formation of a nuclear weapon, Iran is now being targeted as a country that is responsible for threatening neighboring Israel. To talk about this, I am joined over the phone by Mr. Munawwar Mirza. He's a senior journalist and joining me on phone from Karachi. Mr. Munawwar Mirza, I welcome you to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm here.
And first things first, so tonight as President Biden is in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, how do you see this visit and what do you believe would be the key agenda for his visit to Saudi Arabia?
You have very correctly pointed out the various reasons why he wants to reset the relations of United States and Saudi Arabia. But one must remember that Saudi Arabia and United States have been very, very long and very, very fast friends since the beginning of this kingdom in 1945, when King Abdulaziz, the founder of this dynasty, was ruling Saudi Arabia. Now, the real or the pivotal point on which Joe Biden has to go to Saudi Arabia is the rising oil prices. As all other things are there. For example, the Palestine issue, the nuclear arms deal with Iran, the Yemen war, and so on and so forth. But the most important issue which is facing United States today and the total Western world is the rising oil prices, which are directly result of the Ukraine war, which took place when President Putin attacked Ukraine. Now, today when I saw the prices of oil, they were around $94 per barrel. So it means United States has very cleverly maneuvered the visit of Joe Biden to Middle East, and they have linked the fall of prices of the oil with the visit of the President of the United States, and you see that almost $35 per barrel have gone down. So one of the, what you can call minor effects of this visit has been achieved. But the major effect will be taking place when President Biden will be able to talk to Salman and able to convince him that they must keep on pushing the oil up and up so that the prices fall down and down. And the major
Mr.
reason is they want that the Russian oil should come down. As you know, already they are selling this price 30% below the market price. Yeah, there is a lot of hue and cry in Pakistan, particularly the former Prime Minister Imran Khan is making a lot of speeches about it.
Mr. Mirza, can I interject here? Mr. Mirza, can I interject here? Now, as you said, he is requesting Saudi Arabia or asking Saudi Arabia politely to raise the supply. But while keeping Russia's oil under embargo and while blocking Iran's export completely, how much results can be achieved by exerting more pressure on Saudi Arabia alone?
You see, Prince Salman is also playing his cards very well. You know, President Biden, during his election campaign, has been particularly critical, and even after when he became the President of the United States, he had been harshly critical of Mohammed bin Salman on certain issues of human angle. But now the United States has been forced. I would rather say they have to bow down because the Russian oil, which is selling at a very low price, that is 30%, and why you have asked me, why will they be ready to do this? What United States? I don't think that they will be totally do because Putin is also has got a good friendly relations with Saudi Arabia. Moreover, China has got reasonably good relations. Moreover, Saudi Arabia and Iran are directly now talking to each other through the good offices of the Prime Minister of Iraq. So the total parameter of the
Mr. Mirza, you have just hit the nail on its head, and now this gives birth to the next question. I'm going to read a statement when you talk about Iran. The only thing worse than the Iran that exists now is an Iran with nuclear weapon. This is what President Biden said, and when he was asked if the United States would be willing to use its kinetic force, he said, if that was the last resort, yes. So how serious of a threat do you believe this is of using the force against Iran?
I don't think that he will be ever able to use this force against Iran because, as you know, in 2015, the nuclear deal was signed when the president, who was the vice president, and he was heading the Foreign Affairs Committee during the Obama period, signed the nuclear deal with Iran. And all the concessions which Iran has got from United States were in the regime of Obama. President Trump was very harsh with him. He even cancelled the nuclear deal. So and when Trump went away, again Joe Biden said that I want to revive this nuclear deal, and already they have gone through almost, as far as I remember, 9 sessions in Europe, and his European partners of the United States are already working on this deal, and they were 2 months ago they were very near getting this deal done. But however, there has been some differences because Saudi Arabia and Israel, both of them have got a lot of reservations about it, because last time when they did the nuclear deal, they simply bypassed the Arab countries. Now the Arab countries and Israel both want a guarantee from the United States that now you are not going to do any nuclear deal with Iran until and unless you remove all these. While as far as using the force is concerned, I don't think there's any
So, Mr. Mirza, if I follow your line of argument, this means that coercion is not an option when you talk about Iran. And the only other choice to stop Iran from, creation of a nuclear weapon is that you open Iran's economy, you lift up the sanctions, and you allow Iran's economy to thrive on the wealth of the oil that it is so generously bestowed by the nature. Do you believe this will not create another threat for Israel? Because Iran is not known to be a country that doesn't interfere into the affairs of the neighboring states.
As far as I have seen, what United States has done, and this has been their long-term policy, this has got no whatsoever connection with either Trump or Joe Biden. Their long-term policy is that now United States has shifted their pivot from Middle East and the West Asia to Indochina. They said that they call this a pivot now. However, due to this Ukraine war, they have to come here for a temporary period. And in this temporary period, they don't want to allow Iran to go nuclear in any case. Therefore, they are going to put all kinds of pressure, and they have instilled rather Israel for this particular purpose. As you can see, Israel has got now relations with almost 4 or 5 Arab countries. They have revived their relations with Turkey. They have maintained their relations with some of the African countries. And now, as you know, President Biden will also be presiding over a I2UI session in which India, America, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, and 2 African countries will also be participating. So this is going to be a very significant visit. Apart
Thank
from
you.
all this oil
Thank you
business,
very much.
and apart from
Thank you
all
very
these-
much, Munawar Saab, for being guest in our program. Let's
it was a
close the
pleasure.
topic on this
a
wonderful
pleasure.
development that you have shared with us.
It was a pleasure to me. Pleasure to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Mr. Munawar Mirza, senior journalist, joining us over the phone from Karachi. He has pointed out a number of reasons why the United States is trying to repair and mend relationship with Saudi Arabia. One thing that we could not discuss was a pertinent point of his visit is to create more diplomatic room for Israel in the GCC countries. But whether this is accomplished or not, Iran is becoming a serious flashpoint again in Middle East. All the forces of coercion, all the kinds of sanctions that are known to mankind have been utilized against Iran and have not produced any results so far. Iran has got more closer to development of its nuclear weapon. And importantly, President Biden has this time given this extreme statement that I have quoted in today's program. Just a couple of weeks ago, Israel's Prime Minister and Defense Minister also shared similar sentiments, and they hinted use of direct military action or use of kinetic force against Iran. So God forbid this can again become a flashpoint in this region. We'll join you tomorrow again with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.